Hey guys, we are going to review the math properties that we learned about. So remember, whatever I'm writing is probably important for you to write down too. This is just a review, so take notes with whatever helps you most, and hopefully after this review you'll feel a little bit more confident with the 4 properties that we covered in class. Before we start, I do want to tell you that in IXL, if you want to check out the practice that they have, you can go to the Algebra 1 section has some property practice, and that is their, learning target H.1, properties of addition and multiplication, or you can try the 8th grade skill under T1, which is the properties of addition and multiplication. So maybe start with the 8th grade one. The Algebra 1 is probably a little bit more advanced, would be my guess. I only skimmed them briefly. Alright, so let's review. A few things that we're going to talk about are ways to help us remember what these properties mean. So for the first 2, there are pictures there to help you. So let's think. Associative, we associate with people, or in the case of math, the numbers are associating with one another. So associate means to group with others. So sometimes at work, people associate with one group of coworkers. Other times they associate with other group of coworkers, but their ultimate job is to, get the job done. So associative property is just different ways of grouping numbers to get the same results. So an example might be something like this. A plus B and C work together this time. But ultimately, even if A and B work together and C works on its own, these should still be getting the job done. You'll notice that B and C, let's call this, Bob and Kate, work together in this side. Over here we have Allison and Bob work together over here, and Kate is alone. However, ultimately, this results in the same thing. Let's say that this was 2 plus 3 plus 4. We know that that's really the same exact thing as 2 plus 3 plus 4. Again, our big key here is associate with others, group with others. Okay? The next one, commutative, we can think of the root word commute. If I commute to work, it's how I travel to work. Okay, so commute means travel. When I commute to work, sometimes I go this way and that way to get to work. Other times I just go, in this path, but ultimately I'm getting to the same place. So commuting, or the commutative property, means that, you can go in a different route, but ultimately get to the same point, the same answer. So some days I might take A Street and then B Street. On the way home I take B Street, then A Street, but ultimately getting to where I need to be. Again, you might see something like this. 3 plus 4 is the same thing as 4 plus 3, right? 7 is equal to 7. Boom. Our next one is distributive. No fancy pictures here, sorry. Distribute means to deal out or to hand out or give out. So when you think about distributive property, you know me, I love my loopies, okay? So remember, distributive property, we are dealing out or giving out the multiplication over addition. So that's when we see something like this. I know that when a letter is touching parentheses, that means multiplication. So with distributive property, I can say A times B plus A times C is the same thing as what we see here. Okay, and an example of this might be 5 times the quantity of 3 plus x. I cannot combine 3 plus x because 3 is just a digit and x is a variable. They cannot combine. But with distributive property, what I can do is I can distribute. I can hand out this 5 to each of these. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 5 times x. Don't combine. That's just how it stays. Okay, so again, distributive property means that multiplication is distributing itself or handing itself out over the addition. Lastly, we have identity property. Hopefully you know the word identity is just kind of who you are. So if I do nothing to my identity, I will look exactly the same. Well, hopefully you know that anything in multiplication times 1 does nothing to something's value. Just like with addition, adding 0 does nothing to the value, so the identity is staying exactly the same. So multiplication, our rule is anything A times 1 will still be A, 6 times 1 will still be 6, 12 times 1 will still be 1. I'm sorry, 12. It's late, guys. 100 times 1 will still be 100. Just like with the identity property of addition, A plus 0 is still A. Just like 5 plus 0 is still 5. 100 plus 0 is still 100. Okay, the identity is not changing overall. So I'm going to show you a few of these problems that you're going to work on for extra practice. The link is actually at the top. I emailed this to you guys the other night, so you can check this out if you'd like some additional practice on top of this, okay? One thing I want to point out, with number 5, let's zoom in a little bit. Something like number 5, notice that they've written in the multiplication sign. However, like what I showed you, it's the same thing as this, because anytime the number is touching the parentheses, I know that that means multiplication. So this is showing you 4 times the quantity of 5 plus 6 is really the same thing as 4 times 5 plus 4 times 6. Well, I know if I were to distribute my 4 to my 5, that's 4 times 5. If I was distributing my 4 to my 6, that'd be 4 plus 6. So number 5 must be distributive. Let's take a look at number 1. Ooh, all over the place right now. 4 times 1 equals 4. What that's telling me is that anything times 1 is still itself, and I know that means that its identity is not changing. So that's the identity property. Something like number 3, 10 times 8 is 80. 8 times 10 is 80. All I did was simply change the order. So first I went to 10 and then I went to 8. On my way home from work, I had to go to 8 and then to 10. Again, I'm commuting to and from work. It's kind of like that mirror image, you know. So this one, number 3, would be commutative. It's just a different order. Last but not least, let's take a look at number 8. Number 8 shows me 7 times the group of 2 times 3. Over here, I notice that the group is 7 times 2. So this is telling me, oh, 2 and 3 are associating themselves over here. But on this side, 7 and 2 are associating themselves. However, 7 times 2 times 3 is 6. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 2 is 14. Times 3 is 42. So again, different associations, but getting me the same answer. So number 8 is associative. All right, and I will have you try the rest on your own. The answer key is here for you to check, so you can always, check your work. Look at your foldable in your notebook, and hopefully this was a good refresher to help you with your math properties. Adios!